Box, dirty air, Parc Fermé, going purple. You've heard all of these. Understood, zero. Not anymore. Let's start with the stuff that even old-school F1 fans are lost on right now, because the rules just changed in 2026, and the sport basically invented a new language overnight. First up, active aero. You know those wings on the front and back of the car? They used to be fixed, static, just sitting there, looking aggressive. Now, they move, while the car is doing 200 miles per hour. Yes, actually moving. There are two modes. When the driver is on a straight, hammering down the track trying to hit top speed, the wings open, they flatten out. Less drag, more speed. This is called straight mode. But the second that driver hits a corner, the wings snap shut, maximum downforce, pressing the car into the track like a giant invisible hand so it doesn't fly off into the barriers. This is called corner mode. Think of it like a hand in water. Open fingers going forward, less resistance. Close them for a corner, more grip. That's active aero. But wait, there's more, because active aero is just the beginning of what's changed. Remember the old DRS, that clunky little flap drivers used to open on straights to overtake? Gone, dead, replaced by something far more dramatic and far more controversial. It's called overtake mode. Here's how it works. If the car behind gets within 1 second of the car in front, it automatically receives a surge of electrical power. We're talking roughly 350 kilowatts. Now, some people love this, some people absolutely hate it, and honestly, that argument divides every F1 fan on the planet. But we'll let that cook, because there's another button, and this one is pure chaos, the boost button. Unlike overtake mode, this one is completely manual. The driver can press it anywhere, not just on straights, not just when chasing someone. Anywhere on the track, it dumps stored battery energy into raw speed, instant acceleration, a push to pass and push to defend weapon rolled into one. The catch? You can only use it if you've saved enough charge, which brings us to a phrase you'll hear engineers repeating on the radio all race long: focus on recharge. Translation? Slow down on purpose. When engineers say recharge, they're telling the driver to lift off the throttle early or brake hard, both of which harvest kinetic energy back into the battery. So the next time that driver needs a boost, it's there. So yes, these drivers are being paid millions of dollars to lift off the gas on purpose. Real talk though, F1 spent decades trying to make overtaking more exciting. DRS didn't fix it. Now they've built a system that literally gives chasing drivers free power just for being close. Is that racing, or is that a video game difficulty setting? Comment section, go. And we haven't even gotten to the fundamentals yet. But here's the thing, you can know every 2026 rule perfectly and still have no idea what's actually happening on track. Because the basics, nobody explains those either. Let's go. The apex. Every corner on a racing circuit has one. It's the innermost point of the turn, the sharp inside edge that drivers aim for to take the fastest possible line through the bend. Miss the apex, and the car goes wide. Longer distance, lost time. And in F1, lost time is fractions of a second that haunt the engineers for the rest of the weekend. When a commentator says a driver missed the apex, that's a mistake. Small, but a mistake. And in a sport where first and second can be separated by 1/10 of a second, missing the apex by 2 feet can cost a driver an entire position. 2 feet at 280 miles per hour. Now here's one people get slightly wrong: the slipstream, also called towing. When a car moves at high speed, it punches a hole through the air in front of it. Right behind that car, there's a pocket, a low-pressure zone where the air is already broken. A car sitting in that pocket doesn't have to work as hard to cut through the air. Less resistance, more speed, almost for free. This is why drivers sometimes appear to just rocket past someone on a straight, despite having no obvious speed advantage earlier. They used the slipstream. They let the car in front do the aerodynamic work, then pounced. Smart, right? Except there's a dark side to following closely in F1, and it has a name: dirty air. This is the enemy of the chasing driver, and it's low-key the reason overtaking in F1 used to be nearly impossible before the current era. every car leaves a trail of turbulent, chaotic air behind it, and if your car is driving through it, trying to corner, trying to generate grip, it's like trying to use an umbrella in a hurricane. A following car can lose up to 35 to 40% of its downforce. That's not a disadvantage, that's a completely different car. This dirty air problem is exactly why Mercedes got cooked in 2021 to 2023 when Hamilton tried to attack. You watched it happen. Now you know what you were actually watching. Two terms, opposites. Let's go. Understeer and oversteer. Understeer, the front of the car doesn't want to turn. The driver cranks the wheel and the front tires just slide forward instead of biting into the corner. The car runs wide. Drivers call it feeling dead or pushing. It's low-key the most embarrassing thing that can happen to a driver mid-corner. Oversteer, the back end slides out. The back end loses grip and wants to overtake the front. Spin territory, the kind of moment that looks spectacular on camera and feels absolutely terrifying at 150 miles per hour. But here's the thing though, Max Verstappen built his entire career on oversteer, that terrifying rear sliding edge of control style. Hamilton, the complete opposite. Understeer, stable, controlled, calculated. Two completely different driving philosophies. So which one is actually right? Pick a side in the comments. I'll read them. One more from the basics. The blue flag. If a faster car is lapping you, you get a blue flag. Move. Now. Get out of the way. Ignore it, and you get a penalty, which is F1's polite way of saying, get out of the way or we will ruin your race for you. And it has happened. In the 2023 Monaco Grand Prix, a backmarker held up a championship contender for 2 full corners under blue flags. 2 corners in Monaco, where overtaking is nearly impossible anyway. The team was furious for 3 days. But here's what nobody tells you. Everything we just covered, that's the surface. The stuff that actually decides races happens somewhere most cameras never show. Okay, now we get into the stuff that even people who've watched F1 for 10 years don't fully understand, because teams don't want you to. The less you know about this, the less you question their decisions. The chassis. This is the skeleton of the car, the core structure everything bolts onto. In 2026, the chassis basically got a whole glow-up. Shorter, narrower, more nimble. Think sports car versus go-kart. F1 shows the go-kart, and they weren't wrong. And look, this next one took me 3 race weekends to actually understand, so don't feel bad if it takes a second. The MGU-K, Motor Generator Unit Kinetic. Every time a driver stamps on the brakes, that energy gets captured, converted, and stored as electricity. And yeah, that's as wild as it sounds. This year's MGU-K is 3 times more powerful than before. To put that in perspective, the entire output of a 2015 road car engine is roughly what the 2026 MGU-K produces just from braking, just from slowing down. That's not an upgrade, that's a rebuild. Now here's where it gets painful, literally. Lockup. When a driver brakes so aggressively that the wheels completely stop rotating while the car is still moving, the tire, instead of rolling, just slides, and it creates something nobody wants. A flat spot. The tire grinds against the asphalt and gets a section of rubber shaved flat. A flat surface on a round tire. What does that feel like at 180 miles per hour? Horrible vibrations. The entire car shakes. Every corner gets worse. Carlos Sainz at the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix locked up under braking, picked up a flat spot, and spent the next 15 laps driving what felt like a car with square wheels. You could literally hear the vibration on the broadcast. He still finished on the podium. Barely. Last one before strategy, and it's French. Parc Fermé. Translated literally, closed park. After qualifying, every car goes into this secure area where team mechanics are not allowed to make changes. No tweaks, no adjustments, no swapping components. You're locked in, no cap. Whatever setup you chose is yours forever now. Nothing like finding out your car handles like a wet shopping cart on race morning and being legally unable to do anything about it. Everything covered so far, that's just what happens on track. But the race, the actual race, that gets won right here on a laptop in the pit wall by someone who hasn't driven a car all weekend. Let's start with the most famous two words in the sport: box, box. When an engineer calls a driver in, they don't say pit, they say box. Why? Because pit sounds too similar to too many other words over a crackling radio. Box is distinct, unmistakable. The driver hears it once and they know. 2 words. That's literally 2 words, and somehow it took F1 decades to standardize them. Now the strategy chess match. 2 weapons, completely opposite approaches. The undercut. The average F1 pit stop takes under 2.5 seconds. The record is 1.8 seconds, set by Red Bull. And the difference between winning and losing an undercut battle is often just 3 laps of driving. 3 laps against a 50-lap race. Team A pits before their rival ahead of them. Fresh tires go on, lap times drop. Suddenly, Team A is clocking times the rival on older, slower tires simply can't match. It's actually a giga-brain move when it works. The most famous undercut in recent history? 2023 Italian Grand Prix. Ferrari pitted Charles Leclerc 1 lap earlier than Red Bull expected. He came out on fresh tires, clocked 3 fast laps, and when Verstappen finally pitted, Leclerc was ahead. Monza went nuclear. The overcut, the opposite gamble. Stay out after your rival pits. Their new tires are cold. You're on worn but warm tires, actually faster in that window. Bank fast laps, pit late, emerge ahead. And here's the thing nobody talks about. Sometimes both teams call the exact opposite strategy at the exact same time. Undercut versus overcut, head-to-head, in real time. And what happens next? Stay with me. Compounds. The tires in F1 range from C1 to C5. C1 is the hardest, slower but lasts forever. C5 is the softest, blazing fast, gone in almost no time. A soft compound tire in qualifying can last as little as 1 flying lap before it starts degrading. 1 lap? Teams burn them anyway, because that 1 lap can be the difference between starting first and starting 4th. Pick the wrong compound on the wrong day, and your entire race falls apart by lap 20. But there's one more thing the timing screen shows you that almost nobody watching at home actually understands. Going purple. When a driver sets the fastest time of anyone on track in a specific sector, that sector turns purple on the timing screens. Not their personal best, the best of everyone. Going purple is basically the F1 equivalent of going viral. So when a commentator screams, "He's gone purple in Sector 2, that driver just went faster than every single car on the grid in that moment on that section of track. And before you answer this, Red Bull spent $400 million on car development last year. Ferrari spent $300 million. The top drivers earned $50 million. With active Aero, overtake mode, and boost buttons all doing the work automatically, is the driver actually the variable anymore? Or has the car become the weapon and the driver just the passenger? Drop your answer below.